Hi class, this is Course 2, Lesson 48, Fraction, Decimal, Percent Equivalents. And today we're just going to tie together what you already know how to do. How to convert a fraction to a decimal, or a fraction to a percent, or a decimal to a fraction, or a decimal to a percent, or a percent to a fraction or a decimal. Okay, and the way that'll happen is it'll be in a chart, a table, and it'll say fraction, decimal, percent, and you just convert between the two or three categories. Okay, so first, to convert fractions to decimals, remember that if you have a fraction, if you don't know what the decimal equivalent is, you will always divide. And it seems to me that we have some trouble remembering which one of these numbers goes in the box. Which one is the dividend? And the number on the top, the numerator, is always in the box. So if you draw the box, the 3 has to go in it, and the 8, your divisor, goes outside. And remember, the whole point is to get a decimal number. The only time you'll get a whole number here is if your numerator is larger, if it's an improper fraction. So we'll go ahead and divide it. We'll put the decimal there. 8 won't go into 3, so I can just put a 0 there and put the decimal right up. Now I'm going to add some zeros. 8 will go into 30. 4 times 8 is 32, so 3. 24. Subtract, and I get 6. Add a 0. Bring it down. 8 will go into 67 times 56. Subtract, get a 4. Add another 0. 48, I know that one. 8 times 5 is 40. So the fraction 3/8 is equivalent to the decimal 375 thousandths. Okay, now if you want to convert fractions to percents, again, if you need to make that jump, if you don't know the decimal number, you're going to divide again. Okay, fraction, we're going to make a pit stop here at the decimal, and then go to percents. The other thing you can do is to make a proportion, okay, or make a proportion. And we'll do that one too. I'll give you two options. Proportion. Okay. 2/3, we're going to divide that. We're going to go, 3 goes into 2, how many times? It'll be a 0. We'll bring the decimal up. This would be a 6, 18, subtract 2, add a 0, 20. That'll be a 6. Okay. So this is just going to repeat. So it's going to be a whole bunch of 6's, which I can write as the decimal, repeating 6. Okay, now that doesn't help us when it's a percent, because we need to take this number times 100. Okay, we need to convert our decimal to what it is out of 100%. And so if you have a repeating decimal, there's one step you need to take that's extra. So if we were converting 3/8 to a percent, we would divide and get this and multiply times 100, which will just move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, in this case, we would need to expand this and say 0.6666, okay? Then we're going to multiply that times 100, which is going to move the decimal, so it'd be 66.666%. Now, this repeating 6 here, you need to know is the same thing as a fraction 2/3. So you can write this as 66 2/3%. When it's a repeating decimal, I would rather you didn't write it like this. Okay, don't do that. You need to know what that repeating decimal is as a fraction. Okay, the other thing that you can do is make a proportion. So you're saying 2 out of 3 is equivalent to what out of 100? Okay, and when you solve this, the number you get here is going to be the percent. Okay, and remember, to solve, we can cross multiply, so 2 times 100 is 200, and then we're going to divide that by 3, and we'll get 666. And then here's where, if you do this way, when you subtract, you get 2, and now we can just write that remainder, 2 out of the 3 groups, and remember we wanted a percent, so that's a percent. Okay, so you see either way we do that, we get the same answer. It just might be a little easier, especially if you have repeating decimals, to recognize that you have that fraction option. Okay, converting decimals to fractions, then you write the number over the place value. Okay, so this, when you say it, is 4/10, because the first place after the decimal is tenths. So we're going to write that as 4/10 and then reduce. So we divide both of these by 2 and we get 2/5. So the decimal 0.4 is equivalent to the fraction 2 out of 5. If we have percents and we want fractions, remember that the percent sign means out of 100, so we write 82 out of 100, and again we reduce. So let's see, I know both of these are divisible by 2, so I'm going to get 41/50, and I think that's it. Now what happens when we have 130%? Well, out of 100, if I put 100 out of 100, that would be equivalent to the number 1. So anytime you have over 100%, you will have a mixed number. Greater than 100%, you'll have a mixed number. So you can write 130 out of 100. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you have to reduce that again. And you divide, and you get 1 and 30 out of 100 if you did remainders, which would be 1 and 3 out of 10. Okay, now if we want to convert decimals to percents, these, because percent means out of 100, we need to take our decimal and we are going to multiply it times 100%, and we will get the answer. So 100 times 0.75 would be 75%. Remember also that we talked just a little bit ago about how we can convert decimals to fractions, and if we wanted percents as fractions, it means out of 100, so we'd write that number out of 100. When you have, this is hundredths place, so if we took that as a fraction first, we'd have 75 out of 100, and then we know that this number is our percent. The other thing you can remember is that when you take a decimal to a percent, you can move the decimal 2 places to the right. Converting percents to decimals, in order to get rid of that percent sign, we need to divide by 100. So remember up here we talked about how we could write that as a fraction, so it's really 38 out of 100. And then I know that that is the same thing as 0.38. When you're going from percent to decimal, since we're dividing by 100, we can go 2 places to the left with the decimal. Okay, so you might want to, until you're really comfortable with memorizing that decimal to percent is 2 places to the right and percent to decimal is 2 places to the left, you might want to take that intermediate step and make that fraction first. Then you'll see, especially if it's out of 100. Now, this is 7.5%, and we've been doing problems like this, and we've been getting them wrong. So if I want to make this percent as a decimal, it is not simply dropping the percent sign. These two are not equivalent. 7.5% means 7.5 out of 100. This just means 7.5. So we have to do what we looked at up here, where if we go from percent to decimal, we really need to divide this number by 100. And powers of 10 dividing by 100 moves the decimal 2 places to the left. So I would have decimal point 0.075. So 75 thousandths is the same as 7.5%. Okay? I know I gave you a lot to think about today, but if you follow these steps, you will be able to get these problems correct. So refer back to your notes when you do the problems, please. If you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class.